Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, please? Kindly confirm if you can hear me.
We
Yes, I
can hear
can.
you clearly.
We can hear you clearly. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. We're going to wait for some time for others to join, like 1 to 2 minutes for others to join. And yeah, then we'll start after 2 minutes. Hello again, everyone. Welcome again. I think we'll just start and others will join us in the course of the meeting. So before we proceed, okay, sorry everyone. So before we proceed, I would want to tell us all about the ground rules, which is to mute your mics, which I'm sure everyone has done. We should also communicate with respect to each other. And please don't forget to introduce yourself in the chat box. I am Mary. I am from Sierra Leone. And I'm happy to be here today. And I am your moderator for today's webinar. That will be learning about South Africa and Tanzania's energy transition plans, net zero targets, and a lot more. So next we will have today's webinar. We'll have 5 minutes for introduction, and then we'll get to test ourselves how well we know Africa as our continent, moving forward, I'll also introduce our first speaker, and then speaker will do a presentation for 15 minutes, and then we'll have some Q&A for 5 minutes for the first speaker. We'll move to the second speaker, and then presentation for 15 minutes, and then Q&A, and then we end the webinar. I hope I'm audible enough. Kindly confirm with me.
Yes, you are. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
I can also hear on my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And going forward, I would want to introduce MAGRIN, the organization that is hosting this African webinar series. So MAGRIN is an organization that is passionate about empowering Africans with the necessary knowledge that is required for transitioning to clean energy and also combating climate change. It is an organization that was founded by 3 African ladies, young and vibrant, that are passionate about contributing to the fight against climate change and combating climate change in Africa. So MAGRIN's vision is to build a community and a network that has like-minded people and organizations that are willing to combat climate change, fight against the effects of climate change in Africa, and also introduce or continue to support clean energy in Africa for sustainable living. So it's basically there to bring young people, communities, and networks of people that are passionate about clean energy, sustainable energy, combating climate change in a nutshell. So moving forward, we want to know what the Africa Energy Series is all about. So I'm sure it's no news that there's a significant gap among African countries and African youth regarding the whole climate action, net zero targets, and energy transition. Like for different countries, they have different perspectives, they have different techniques, they have different things that they are doing to fight against climate change. And they have different years that they've targeted to work on the net zero targets. And they also have different technologies that are working for them in the African countries. Yeah. So with this, MAGRIN now thought it fit to address this knowledge gap by starting the Africa Energy Series, which aims to educate and forge partnerships between countries, organizations in different countries, individuals in different countries, African countries to be precise, for greater good, like to help forge or to help push the energy transition and combating climate change strategies in different countries in Africa. So for now, we have covered over 20 countries so far. And so far, I mean, across Africa. And we aim to complete all the countries across Africa. We aim to get to know about the net zero target, climate actions, and energy transition plans in all African countries. That's the aim of the Africa Energy webinar series. So far, we've covered for over 20 countries. So next, it's my honor to present the MAGRIN team. As I stated earlier, it was founded by 3 vibrant African ladies. So first we have myself, Mary Dora Kamara. I happen to be the program coordinator. And then we have Suleiman Aisha Abba, who happens to be our communication and partnership coordinator. We have Georgette Celestine Hudor, who is our technical coordinator. So I'm sure in one way or the other, we have, we met one of the team members, either via email or, on social media and on. Yeah, so please, I've not seen anyone introducing themselves on the chat box. So please let's connect, try to introduce ourselves and try to interact with each other, because the aim of this webinar series is not just to come learn, but also here to forge partnerships, collaborate with each other. Tell us what you do, tell us where you're from, tell us something. Yeah, we just want to know about you. And yeah, maybe you can share your LinkedIn profile, you can share your email. In the course of the webinar, if you introduce yourself, you might see someone that is willing to collaborate with you on different things. Yeah. So next we'll now want to test ourselves on how well we know Africa. So with this, I'll have to stop sharing and allow my colleague Georgette to take it from here. Georgette.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you all so much for joining. It's really good to see people joining the call, and I'm really excited about this. This is one of my highlights of every time having Magrin webinar. So I've shared a link in the chat box, so please feel free to click on the link and take you straight to Mentimeter so we can do this together. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
So I have shared the screen now. So the first question we have is about Tanzania. So it's asking which is the capital of Tanzania. We have Zanzibar, we have Dodoma, and we have Dar es Salaam. So please click the link in the chat box and let's get to hear from each other. Okay, we've seen one person responding. So let's see. Okay, we have two people's response now. Let's see who else is going to give us something different. Let's see, we're almost having a tie. Is there any other person? Okay, so we have three options. So I would not keep us any further in suspense. The correct answer to this is Dodoma. Dodoma is the capital of Tanzania. I know Dar es Salaam is popularly known, and also we have Zanzibar when you want to have vacations, etc. It's somewhere I would really say I look forward to visiting, and that's why I'm happy we get to hear from our speakers now. So, okay. So the next question is, which of these are not the main crops exported from Tanzania? Coffee, cotton, or orange? So Tanzania is known for having great agricultural produce. So which of these do we think is not the one of the main crops that Tanzania exports? Is it coffee? Is it cotton? Is it oranges? And they don't really export. So, okay, this one seems, I think there's kind of an easy giveaway. So the correct answer to this is orange. Orange is one of the crops that is not being exported from Tanzania. Coffee is being exported, cotton is being exported. So the next question is about South Africa, and it says South Africa has how many capitals? This is one country in Africa that has more than one capital, which I'll give that as a hint. So it's between 2 to 3 capitals. So let's see, is it 1, is it 2, is it 3? Okay, one person says 3. Are you sure it's 3? It could be 2. Okay. Someone changed their idea. Switch from 3 to 2. Okay, so the correct answer is 3. South Africa has 3 major capitals, which we have there's one that is, but they have the executive capital, the legislative capital, and also we have the judiciary capital. This is where we have Cape Town and a few others. So the next question is, what is the name of the plastic horn that could constantly be heard buzzing in the background at the 2010 FIFA World Cup that was held in South Africa? I don't know about you, but I'm sure that was like the first country in Africa that we had the World Cup being held. So is it the Vuvuzela? Is it the Amapiano? Is it Soweto? So please, let's hear your options. Okay, so there's a tie here. Okay. So yes, I think the majority carries the vote in this case, because the correct answer is Vuvuzela. So Vuvuzela is the correct answer here. So the final question is, which of these trees is South Africa's iconic tree of life? Is it Sakura? Is it Baobab? Is it apple? So which of these trees is commonly known as South Africa's iconic tree of life? Okay. Are you sure majorities will have it again this time? Is it the apple tree? Is it Sakura? Okay, so yes, again, majority carries the vote in this case. So the baobab is the correct answer here. Baobab is commonly known in South Africa as the tree of life. Thank you so much for participating, and I will hand you over to Mary to continue with the webinar session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Georgette. That was fun and educative at the same time. Yeah, so without wasting time, we'll go straight to the next thing, which is introducing our first speaker, Aletta. She's a South African chemical engineer geotechnologist with a background in NDEEP and BTech. With over 10 years of experience, she has expertise in general supervisory, market analysis, SHIQ, process safety engineering, compliance, and hazardous chemical management. So, Aletta, I think you can share your screen. You have 15 minutes to do your presentation. Then from there, I think we'll have like 5-minute Q&A. So if anyone has anything that you want to ask Aletta, please put it on the chat box and wait for her to finish her presentation so that you will ask. Over to you, Aletta. Hi. Okay. Aletta, are you on the call? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Am I
now.
audible enough?
Yes,
Good
please.
afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. Can I proceed with I'm just going to try and minimize this. Okay. So my presentation is about the South African climate actions in line with the 2016 Paris Agreement. This is just a soft update of where South Africa is in terms of this mandate. I will touch on the following subjects: the background, introduction, Dangers of climate change to South Africa, the South African commitment to the NDC, which is the nationally determined contribution. Where are we now? I will also tap a bit into the top 3 emitting sector statistics. We will look at South Africa's coal-fired power generation plants, critically look into climate actions that are completed and actions for the future, and then also tap into financial resource plans for South Africa. I will eventually share some conclusions reported on our efforts as a country. Now, as a background, South Africa is the 23rd most populous country in the world with 62 million people. South Africa, alongside Egypt and Nigeria, are the most air-polluted countries in Africa with the highest related disease burden. It is also ranked at number 15th emissions emitter in the world, higher than France, Italy, and Turkey. Gauteng, Northwest, Free State, and Mpumalanga provinces are the country's hotspots of air pollution and houses 50% of the country's population. Introduction. Table 1 shows a ranking of our pollution sources from highest to lowest. The first being combustion of fossil fuels, mainly from our coal-fired power plants. And then from industrial emissions, these include mining, manufacturing houses, and petrochemical releases. Thirdly, the transport sector still uses fossil fuel-powered vehicles. Number 4, then we have biomass burning, which is the burning of wood and coal from cooking and heating, especially in low-income communities. At number 5, we've got waste management, especially where there are poor waste management practices. This worsens the air quality issues. Number 6 lists the agricultural activities, the use of fertilizers and burning of crop residues. Lastly, from natural resources like dust storms. Now, the dangers of climate change to South Africa. What is known by South Africa is that if climate action is not taken seriously, the threats ahead of us include severe interruption of water quality and availability, the risk of severe floods and drought, which will cause reduced crop production. We will incur loss of labor hours, with families losing an income, especially in the manufacturing, agriculture, and construction spaces. Livestock deaths, particularly this one, guys. Prime meat is the thing here in South Africa. So South Africans will not be happy about this ones. They will probably say, okay, we see everything else, but the meat will definitely trend globally if we don't have meat in South Africa. So the last two are amplified poverty and inequality. We definitely need to cap this in any country for that matter. Demand projections for water, it is estimated that South Africa will need 17.7 billion cubic meters of water by 2030. Our projected capability of supply is 15 billion cubic meters, which means that we are already at forecasting a deficit of 2.7 billion cubic meters of water by 2030. So extreme heat will worsen the water availability. To prevent this, we must rapidly develop policies on climate change. We must fast track transitioning into renewable resources and really make sure that we have the financial muscle to expedite climate transition projects. Now, the South African commitment to the NDC in order to keep temperatures below 1.5 degrees in line with the Paris Agreement, which aims at preventing global climate disasters. Figure 1 indicates South Africa's pathway of emissions from the year 1990 and reflects where we committed to be in the year 2030. As you can see, we were at about 350 megatons of carbon dioxide emissions in 1990. There has been growth over the years as a result of population growth, more factories being established, more fossil fuel power plants built, more cars, or the general rise in modes of transport over the years. And just to name a few, from 2020, we were in about plus minus 550 megatons of carbon dioxide emissions bracket, but we have committed to decrease to at least plus minus 480 megatons of carbon dioxide emissions, which is actually still higher than the recommended plus minus 280 megatons carbon dioxide emissions by 2030. So definitely there needs to be some improvements there. We need to find ways to do more. The how part is justified in the Just Transition Strategy for 2025 up until 2030, and to achieve the net zero targets by 2050. The plans are shared in the Low Emissions Development Strategy. So basically, just to summarize, the Just Transition Strategy talks about how to make electricity available and accessible, how to, the corporate SA and the business sector will reform, how the shift in energy ownership will be managed, how workers and communities will be empowered, and how will restoration and protection of environment be managed. The low emissions development plans expands on proper risk management, having flexible approach, developing policies and securing finance to support the transformation, how to include and engage the public, performance monitoring and reporting structures, legal compliance frameworks, and managing information and future challenges. So all of these are crucial and clearly elaborated in those documents. Where are we now? Of recent, Figure 2 reflects that we still have about 74% of our energy produced from coal, followed by oil at 15%, and then also only 4% is from renewable resources. Overall, 92% is from fossil fuels. So for us transitioning, we are basically starting from almost zero. So the stats include electricity generation, heating and cooking, and then also transportation fuels. Looking at the top 3 emitter states, just to elaborate a bit on the previous slide, the top 3 sectors emitting bad gas in South Africa are electricity generation, transport, and industrial houses. So figure 3 is the electricity sector, where 87% of electricity generated is from coal, and followed, also 3% is from nuclear, and then 9% is from renewable resources like solar, wind, biomass, and hydro plants. The second one being the transport sector on figure 4 shows that 99% of transportation still uses fossil fuels, and then only 1% is electrically powered transportation. Thirdly, the industrial sector, which is figure 5, shows that SA emits way higher than the G20 countries average. Now, looking at the power plants in South Africa, this is particularly a very important slide of this climate change topic for South Africa. Table 2 depicts a list of all coal-fired power stations in South Africa. We have seen in the previous slide that they constitute about 87% of our electricity generation capability. For the climate change action and the timelines, Table 2 shows that by 2030, 8 out of the 18 coal-fired power plants will be decommissioned, followed by another 3 to be phased out by 2040. And then by 2050, we will have another 4 being phased out. So 1 is already decommissioned by now. So only 2 most recently commissioned plants will be operational, namely the Kusile Power Station, which was commissioned between 2022 and 2024 in stages, and then also the Medupi Power Station, which was commissioned in 2021. So even though they have larger capacities, carbon capture utilization technology seems to be developing well. It will probably help to reduce the emissions from the plants until they are phased out. Whilst as much as this benefits climate change that the plants are phasing out, the dilemma is that the latter, which is the nuclear power plants, the renewable powered power plants that we have are too small, rather, to keep as a lead. Government has no choice but to implement alternative power generation technologies at a rapid rate. There is, of course, an existing government integrated resource plan to close out the power generation shortfall for periods up to 2030 up until the year 2050. The proposed plan aims to install power plants across South Africa, and the locations are mapped out in Figure 6. The new energy mix is thought to comply with the Paris Agreement. Now, looking at the climate actions that have been completed, the climate change action was declared a presidential project. A commission was launched in the year 2020 with the labor, youth, civil society, and business being involved. Point number 2, there was a moratorium on new coal-fired power plants, which was effected in 2017. The third point, a climate transparency report was established as a public tracker. Number 4, a law was recently passed by the Honorable President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, to regulate large emitters and to ensure that in all 9 provinces and municipal houses, assessment and reporting on climate change risks and response plans will be done timelessly. Finance, carbon tax was introduced in 2019, covering 80% of domestic emissions. And then the last point being a dedicated Minister of Electricity and Energy was for the first time in South Africa appointed on the 6th of March 2023. The contract was then renewed again from the 3rd of July 2024, appointing Dr. Kosiensu Ramokgopa, whom is a great leader and has done absolutely a great job to this far. And the greatest news to me is that he is also from my hometown of Atteridgeville. But I strongly believe that we will get along down because of his competence. Now, looking at climate actions that we still need to do at the future, as we have seen in this report, there is a lot to be done in terms of implementing the 2019 Integrated Resource Plan. We must still implement green transport strategy to relieve emissions in the transport sector. We need to enhance energy efficient programs to be accessible to the public. Carbon tax benefits implementation was postponed to 2025. So we just anticipate a just transition within the stipulated timelines, hopefully. Now, looking at the financial resource plans, in terms of financial support for the country, South Africa's target was to raise $8 billion per year by 2030. What has been secured so far is the $8.5 billion from the Just Energy Transition Partnerships. Also, 45 million that was donated by the United States Agency for International Development. Apart from the international support, funding will be sourced through carbon tax, government budgets, through private sector investments, public-private partnerships, and other international aid programs. Now, in conclusion, the Climate Action Tracker gave South Africa an insufficient rating, having measured performance in terms of policies and commitment in line with the Paris Agreement. The 2030 emissions reduction targets are rated at almost sufficient in domestic implementation efforts. So that is more to do with the solar panels projects that are installed in our homes. So a large amount of those were implemented within the period of the last 6-7 years. Also, we received an insufficient rating against the fair share contribution to climate change. So the entire analysis suggests that South African climate actions are not robust enough to cap warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius or below. So in my opinion, or personally, I believe that the only lag here is in actions. We have great plans, we have a clear vision, we know how to get where we want to get to. The delay is just implementation and acting. So we must start building those power plants as soon as possible so that we can at least improve our scoring. With green hydrogen technology still at its infancy in some sectors, let us continue to globally share the know-how. The Energy Department is well led, and therefore there is no room for failure in South Africa. We just need to start acting as soon as possible. And then, as some of you might already know, we have the Government of National Unity, which is still finding its feet in government for about 2 to 3 months now after the national elections that were held in 2024. So once the foundation is laid, I strongly sense that we will see more positive actions in the future. So I hope this was an informative session for you guys. Thank you so much for the attention and the opportunity. Back to you, the chair.
Thank you very much, Aletta. That was really informative. Do we have questions? Let me check on the chat box. None for now. Please, can we ask any questions if we have? So, Aletta, I have one question from my hand. So you were talking about delay for implementation of all these projects or these plans that you were talking about. Is the delay coming from is it a financial delay or a governmental delay? Yeah, I just want to know where the delay is really coming from, who is doing the delay and all. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. The delay, as I view, comes from the government side. Financially, not so much, because I think as a country where we are now, we are capable of, starting with 1 plant or 2 plants and then increasing from there. But however, our political structure has been unstable for some time, tainted by corruption, tainted by, resignations due to, court cases that are pending. So there's just has been a lot that has been happening. And I don't think there has been so much focus when it comes to, climate change per se. It is only once the Minister of Energy was appointed in 2023 that we started, seeing some changes. And then also, particularly when it comes to the issue of load shedding on our side, we had issues with our power stations not performing according to standard, resulting in the country not having, electricity for like 10 hours per day, which is outside the norm for us. So I think most of the focus was just to, get capacity back to have energy supply for the people. So with that being the priority, I think climate change was one of the last thing that he had to come and intervene and make sure that he drives. But with his presence, I think maybe the delay will maybe just diminish because his mandate is just to focus especially on, energy and the transformation and also on climate change, of which he has started to drive so passionately by now. So to answer your question, I think it's just government per se. I don't think it has anything much to do with, you know, financial restraints or constraints per se. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Aleta, thank you very much. This is more like a request. Can you please share your slides with us? I'm sure you have an email address. Please share it with us. We would want to go over it again, learn more, and so on. And there's someone in the chat box asking a question, saying, based on your experience within the climate change space in SA, is it political will or private businesses that's responsible for the delay in implementation of climate action? Aleta, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. Thank you so much for the question. Is it Sulu?
Yeah.
Um, I think for now, because I know there's quite a debate on whether this is politically driven or whether it's private businesses. I think just to be safe, I normally try to analyze things from, a scientific point of view. It is a fact that we need to, transition by 2030 because we do have the targets, and by 2050. You'll never know 100% what is going on in parliament or whether the conversations that are happening behind closed doors will favor South Africans or not. What I try to interpret things from is on the scientific view that things needs to happen. So I don't think, just to affirm on your question or just to be, I don't want to like make a statement to my scientific assessment. I'm looking at what needs to be done. And I think politically, that's where the delays are because they do have power, even if business is, will have an effect, but they have a responsibility to their people and to what happens to the nation. So if there are personal interests, then that's another topic altogether. So just to be safe on my side, analyzing from a scientific point of view, because I hold, the political powers accountable for what needs to happen and what needs to change in South Africa, I would say it's, politically driven. I think that the delays are politically driven. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Oh, I think that's just a follow-up statement from Zulu. Lobbyists can also influence political will. Yeah. They do
Yeah, no,
sometimes.
it's true. We all have different opinions, but we try not to say much because we don't have the evidence. We don't just want to spread rumors at scientific people. We just know the chain of command. We know who needs to do what, and we just stick to that. Whatever that we see, if we don't have evidence, then we cannot divulge in those conversations. So we try and be safe in that manner. We just have to be careful of what we utter, especially, outside of the spaces where we operate in. So, you have a point. There are some talks that, that could be the issue. But I think from my side, from my view and with the evidence that I have, I think I'm analyzing it from how I explained it a bit earlier on. But I see where your point is getting at, just that, I can't commit to agree to you. Thank you. That is also noted.
Okay, thank you very much, Aleta and Zulu. Maybe you can talk about it more later, because it looks like Zulu really wants an answer from you that you're not giving him. So he's saying that you're being politically correct right now. And yeah, maybe you can connect and further discuss later on LinkedIn. We should like we should have our next speaker, but unfortunately he won't be able to join us today because of reasons that are beyond his control. So maybe he'll join us next week. So we draw the curtain here for today. Thank you very much, Aleta. Your presentation was insightful, informative, and we've learned so much. Please don't forget to share your slides with us. And if you're on the
Okay.
call and you want the slides, you can reach out to us via our email address, maggreen360@gmail.com. You can also follow
Can you
us.
just write that, please, on the chat so that I can get the email
Okay.
address? I'm not sure I've got Aisha's one, I think, or I can send it via WhatsApp.
Let me just share the email address. It's
Okay.
Maggreen. Let me type it on the chat box.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so it's Maggreen. Okay, there you have it. It's already in the chat box. So you can send the slides there. And for those that want the slides, you can reach out to us also. We will share it with you. For someone like Zulu, I'm sure he will want the slides. So yeah, we want to thank everyone that took their time to join today. We're grateful. So next week we'll have another webinar. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. Please join us. This is a series that we believe will run throughout the year. So it would be nice for everyone, for us to be there. So also don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, that was Twitter. You can share, like, and comment on our post. Follow us and be there, be updated on what's next with Maggreen. Thank you very much. Do have an amazing weekend and may you have a blessed week ahead. Thank you all. And this is where we say ciao. Thank you. See you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.